Hi guys, this is Daryl and welcome back to Book Odyssey. Today I'm looking at 10 sci-fi books just waiting to be adapted for the screen, but amazingly haven't yet. First up is Use of Weapons by Iain M. Banks. Use of Weapons is a 1990 science fiction novel by Scottish writer Iain M. Banks, and is the third novel in his Culture series. The narrative takes the form of a biography of a man called Zakalwe, who was born outside of the culture but was recruited into it by Special Circumstances agent Diazet Smar as an operative intervening in less advanced civilizations through intrigue, manipulations and military action. Before Special Circumstances recruited him, Zakalwe was a soldier on a distant world until Smar plucked him from obscurity and pushed him towards his present eminence. But despite all their dealings, she doesn't know him as well as she thinks. Even the drone, Scafan Amitaskor, who believes the man to be a lost cause, can't see the horrors in his past. We follow this uniquely told story as it recounts several Special Circumstances interventions and Zakalwe's attempts to come to terms with his own past. Use of Weapons is ripe for adaptation to screen because it's a gritty, swervingly intelligent science fiction that delivers shockwave after shockwave of dark, intense story. The depth of character exploration puts this in league with some of the most intense thrillers I've seen and handles big questions such as whether war is inevitable. As far as I'm aware, there are currently no plans to adapt Use of Weapons to the screen. However, Amazon Studios acquired the global rights to a TV version of Consider Fleabas, the first Culture novel, in 2018. The author's estate was set to serve as executive producer, but went on to say the timing wasn't quite right for it to go ahead. Next on my list is The Three-Body Problem by Liu Cixin. The Three-Body Problem is a hard science fiction novel written by Chinese writer Liu Cixin, and is the first novel of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. Set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution, a secret military project sends signals into space to establish contact with aliens. An alien civilization on the brink of destruction captures the signal and plans to invade Earth. Meanwhile on Earth, different factions start forming, planning to either welcome the superior beings and help them take over a world seen as corrupt, or to fight against the invasion. The Three-Body Problem would make such a brilliant adaptation because it successfully subverts the familiar trope of aliens invading Earth and does so with a hard science fiction edge. As well as dealing with some fascinating scientific concepts, it deals with political and sociological ones too, such as the Chinese Cultural Revolution and the fracturing humanity in the face of impending doom. In fact, it has been reported that The Three-Body Problem has been picked up by Netflix and is being led by True Blood's Alexander Wu and Game of Thrones writers David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. Next up is The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Private William Mandela is a reluctant hero in an interstellar war against an unknowable alien enemy. Mandela is drafted into the elite military task force and is shipped to a war against the Taurans. Due to a relativistic effect known as time dilation, decades have passed when he finally returns home to Earth, even though they've only been out less than a year in their time. The Earth he returns to, however, is a completely different world, and the culture shock leaves him feeling disconnected from the home he once knew. After more years in service, the society on Earth becomes nearly unrecognisable to him. For fans of the Forever War, it might come as a surprise to you that this has never been adapted to screen. The story, however, is begging to be adapted because it has the potential to be a spacefaring cinematic masterpiece in the lines of 2001: A Space Odyssey and Interstellar. Its comment on war and its fascinating use of time dilation would make this a must-watch for moviegoers or for fans of the small screen. Saying that, its potential has obviously been recognised because there is a long history of option rights for this book going back to the 1980s. Most recently, in 2015, Warner Brothers won the rights to the novel and planned to develop a project with Channing Tatum in the starring role. Since then, however, it's gone a bit quiet. Next on my list is The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. The Murderbot Diaries is a science fiction series by American author Martha Wells, published by Tor.com. The ongoing series is about an artificial construct designed as a security unit, which manages to override its governor module, enabling it to develop independence. There are 5 published novellas in the Murderbot Diaries, which begin with All Systems Red, and 1 full novel, Network Effect. The most recent instalment was Fugitive Telemetry, and another instalment is due this year. All Systems Red won the 2018 Nebula Award for Best Novella and the Hugo Award for Best Novella. The Murderbot Diaries would make a great screen adaptation for the same reason it makes for good reading, because of the main character Murderbot. It is a highly relatable robot that gets pulled into various situations when it would rather sit alone watching soap operas. As it spends more time with a series of humans and fellow bots, it starts developing friendships and emotional connections, which it finds inconvenient.
I can relate.
And this is really what it's all about, the evolution of the main character, Murderbot, wrapped in a compelling mystery/detective series. Wells recently revealed that there are plans to adapt Murderbot Diaries for the screen, though she did not give specifics. The next book on my list is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Hyperion is a Hugo Award-winning 1989 science fiction novel by American writer Dan Simmons. It is the first book in his Hyperion cantos. The events in Hyperion are set over 1,000 years in the future. Humankind has conquered space travel and has colonised hundreds of worlds. The plot of the novel features multiple timelines and characters and follows a similar structure to the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. The story is centred around the events set in motion by the opening of a collection of mysterious structures known as the Time Tombs on the outback planet of Hyperion. On the eve of invasion of the planet, a final pilgrimage to the Time Tombs has been organised. As the 7 pilgrims brave the perils and surprises of their journey to and on Hyperion, each of them tells their tale to the others, detailing their backgrounds and motives in order to learn why they were chosen for this final pilgrimage, which will take them to the ancient Time Tombs, wherein lives a creature of unfathomable power known as the Shrike. Hyperion is my favourite sci-fi novel of all time, and would make such an epic screen adaptation either as a film or as a TV series. It's written in such a way that to be faithful to the book it would take a bit of creativity, but done right it could be a masterpiece. It has all the ingredients to make it a box office smash similar to the likes of Dune. Hyperion also has a long history of option rights drama, which I made a video on a while back and I'll link to here. The upshot is that the Hangover actor Bradley Cooper is involved, and Warner Brothers last year, coincidentally around the time Dune had proven itself to be a cash cow at the box office, said that Hyperion is being adapted into a movie. Next, I have Chasm City by Alistair Reynolds. Set in the Revelation space universe, Chasm City is a standalone novel that is largely set on the once utopian Chasm City, a doomed human settlement on the otherwise inhospitable planet of Yellowstone. The city has been overrun by a hybrid nanotech virus known as the Melding Plague, capable of infecting anybody or anyone, organic or tech, and has reduced the once spectacular city to a dense slum. Life there for its inhabitants has become savage and carnivorous. For security operative Tanner Mirabel, it's the nightmarish backdrop to his search for a post-mortal killer. The stakes are raised, however, when his search brings him face to face with a centuries-old atrocity that history would rather forget. In this chaos of plague and desolation, Tanner seeks his prey, only to discover that his quarry is more elusive than he expected. There are so many mind-blowing concepts in Chasm City that it would make screenplay material for seasons and seasons of great TV. This dark and brooding cyberpunk-esque noir story is a fast-paced adventure that could equal the success of The Expanse if put in the right hands, but alas, there are currently no plans to adapt Chasm City yet. Next, I have Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. Ancillary Justice is a space opera by Ann Leckie published in 2013 and is the first in her Imperial Raj trilogy. The story is set thousands of years in the future, where the principal power in human space is the expansionist Raj Empire. The Empire uses spaceships controlled by AIs, who control human bodies known as ancillaries, to use as soldiers. The narrative begins 20 years after the disappearance of a Raj starship, the Justice of Torren, when the sole surviving ancillary, Breck, encounters an officer who had been a lieutenant on the Justice of Torren 1,000 years earlier. The plot switches between two strands, Breck's present-day quest for justice, and flashbacks from 19 years earlier when the Justice of Torren was on a planet being formally brought into the Rajchai Empire. Ancillary Justice could be a fantastic film if done right. I seem to say if done right a lot these days. Leckie brings together influences such as Iain M. Banks and Ursula Le Guin in a way that is unique, taking a future technology and asking what are the social implications of that technology. It's a rich story with plenty for screenwriters to get hold of, and could follow in the footsteps of Apple TV's Foundation series when it comes to tackling empires on a galactic scale. According to reports, an Ancillary Justice film is in the works, with Keira Knightley apparently on board. Speaking of Ursula Le Guin, the next on my list is The Dispossessed. The Dispossessed, an ambiguous utopia, is a 1974 science fiction novel by Ursula Le Guin, set in a universe in a series of science fiction novels known as the Hainish Cycle. The story of the Dispossessed takes place on the planet Uras and its moon Heiress. The ruling powers on Uras gave a faction of a rebellious revolutionary the right to live on Heiress moon 200 years before the events of the book, and they formed an anarchist society with no government there, whereas the main nation depicted on Uras is a capitalist society. The protagonist, Shevik, a brilliant physicist from the arid anarchist moon, is attempting to develop the principle of simultaneity, a scientific breakthrough which would make instantaneous communication across space possible. The breakthrough would revolutionise the interstellar civilizations in the collection of unified Federation worlds to which Uras belongs. It is Shevik's life's work, but on the Heiress moon it's been stifled by jealous colleagues, bureaucracy and ideology. So he travels to Heiress' sister planet Uras, hoping to find more liberty and tolerance there. But he soon finds himself being used as a pawn in a deadly political game. The fact that The Dispossessed has never been adapted for the screen is simply astounding, if for no other reason than it's a science fiction classic that should be on everyone's reading list. The Dispossessed would make for an intelligent adaptation because it manages to capture and explore complex political themes while at the same time creating layered characters that you come to care about. Le Guin's critique is nuanced and multifaceted, and in my opinion sets out to explore the risks of radical politics, something I know I would certainly love to see come to screen. Apparently 1212 Entertainment and Anonymous Content are teaming to adapt The Dispossessed into a limited series. This hasn't been confirmed, so we'll have to watch out for this one. Next on my list is Light by M. John Harrison. 3 quantum outlaws face a universe of their own creation, a universe where you make up the rules as you go along and break them just as fast, where there's only one thing more mysterious than darkness. In contemporary London, Michael Kearney is a serial killer on the run from the entity that drives him to kill. He is seeking escape in a future that doesn't exist yet, a quantum world that he and his physicist partner hope to access through a breach of time and space itself. In this future, Saria has already sacrificed her body to merge with the systems of her starship, the White Cat, but the inhuman K-ship captain has gone rogue, pirating the galaxy while playing cat and mouse with the authorities who made her what she is. In this future, Ed, a drifter and adventurer, has ridden Dynaflow ships, run old alien mazes, surfed stellar envelopes. He went deep and lived to tell about it. Once crazy for life, he's now just a twink on New Venusport, addicted to the bizarre alternate realities found in the tanks, and in debt to the wrong people. Haunting them all through this maze of menace and mystery is the shadowy presence of the Shrander and 3 enigmatic clues left on the barren surface of an asteroid under the ocean of light known as the Kefahuchi Tract. A deserted spaceship, a pair of bone dice, and a human skeleton. This book is truly mind-blowing, But because of Harrison's writing style is a little like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. Either way, it would make a perfect screen adaptation as it weaves different narrative strands for characters who are flawed, fascinating, and in futures that are utterly alien and are just begging to be brought to life. Parts of it bring to mind cyberpunk, other parts are space opera, while others brought to mind the weird and wonderful film Brazil by Terry Gilliam, which everyone should totally check out if you haven't seen it. No plans have been made public to adapt Light from book to screen, however. The last book on my list that would make a fantastic screen adaptation is Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Ryland Grace, a junior high school teacher turned astronaut, is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a long time. He's just woken to find himself millions of miles from Earth, with nothing but 2 corpses for company. With his crewmates dead and his memory slowly returning, Grace realises that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on a tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out a seemingly impossible scientific mystery, and divert an extinction-level threat to humanity. Weir has reportedly already sold the book's film adaptation rights to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer for $3 million, following the successful adaptation of The Martian starring Matt Damon. If you liked The Martian, then you're probably already sold on why Project Hail Mary needs to be made into a film. It's an accessible hard sci-fi story that doesn't just appeal to sci-fi fans. The concepts are intelligent and scientifically robust, the story is compelling and the characters are entertaining in a way that make it at times feel like a buddy comedy, something I'd love to see get a screen adaptation. So that's it for this video, thanks so much for watching. These are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear what sci-fi books you think would make great screen adaptation in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe in all the usual ways. Until next time guys, happy reading.